We have a bakery with fried pies and apple fritters and dumplings and turnovers. It amazes me every time I look at the parking lot and it's just full of cars and people are in there. And I hear folks says, "This is my orchard." You know, they take ownership of it, and it just blows my mind. This is all I've ever wanted to do was stay on the farm, and I'm just very fortunate that, you know, Dad started the orchard.
At Farm Bureau Health Plans, we are your neighbors, your friends, and partners in health. We believe everyone deserves the very best care tailored to your unique needs. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Root of the Matter. I am Amy Beckham, and I'm thrilled today to be sitting down with Mr. Chuck McSpadden at Apple Valley Orchard. Welcome to Root of the Matter, sir.
Well, thank you all for coming today. I appreciate it.
Yes, we're excited to be here at this apple orchard in Cleveland. Will you just start us off telling us a little bit about the history of the orchard and kind of what y'all got going on here?
Okay, well, my mom grew up on this farm. My dad was born about maybe 2 miles from here, and they got married, moved away up to Illinois for a few years, and then gradually migrated back to Cleveland. My dad worked at Sears in Chattanooga and managed the garden department, and one year they had 2 apple trees left over, and he bought them and brought them home. And over the next few years, he started setting a few more apple trees, and we got up to 35 or 40 apple trees. And one day during breakfast before they headed to work, my mom says, "Well, you enjoy your hobbies so much, why don't you just plant a few more?" And my mom, if she was still alive, would say she thought he'd buy another 30 or 40 trees. And the next day he ordered 400 apple trees.
Whoa.
So it just sort of took off from there. And currently we have about 14,000 trees in the orchard.
Wow. And so did they start right here where we're sitting?
Yes, like I said, my mom grew up on this farm, and my parents moved back here in 1964, and that's when they planted the first 2 trees. And so, yeah, the whole orchard just sort of grew up right around the house.
About how many acres?
We are right at about 24 acres of apples at this point. We've pushed up some, getting ready to replant. We've got about another 25 acres we're going to set in the next 4 or 5 years.
So when they started it, and we can kind of get into some of this in a little bit, but you've obviously got a retail location now. You know, when they started it, did they have the vision to do U-pick, or what kind of was the vision, and how did we get to what y'all got going on now?
Well, I think my mom had this idea. We would go to Florida every summer, and there was this orange grove we'd go to, and they had this little stand here and had a little jar out there, and it was the honor system. And I think that's sort of how, what she thought in her mind, that's how we would evolve to. And little did she know what it would become at this point.
So did it kind of start as the honor system?
No, actually there was somebody there all the time. My grandfather ran the retail stand because my father was still working for several years. And then when my dad retired from his job, you know, he took over that part, and he actually retired the year I graduated high school. So I would help him I was going to local junior college after that, so I would help him after I got out of class or on weekends and all.
And then did you kind of come right back to the farm?
I knew this was, since I was 5 years old, I always knew this is what I wanted. I wanted to stay on the farm. And fortunately, Dad started an orchard to give me something a way to make a living.
So talk a little bit about, you went to college or junior college for a little bit, but then you came back to the farm, and then talk about how it's grown since you've been here.
Well, I took accounting in college, and didn't really want to become an accountant. No, I really wanted to come back to the farm. And so after I got out of school, I came back to the farm. I was working all summer in the farm anyway, and at evenings and weekends anyway, since I guess about middle school.
Yeah.
You know, I've just been working in the orchard. So Dad gradually let me take over. When Dad had started the orchard back into the late 70s, I guess our orchard was like 60% Red Delicious, because at that point there wasn't a lot of different varieties. You know, we had Red Delicious, we had Goldens, Rome Beauties, wine sap, Mutsu, and Jonathan's. I probably only had 7 or 8 different varieties of apples. So, you know, newer varieties were starting to come out, and I started going to this dwarf fruit tree meetings where you had smaller trees and closer together. Dad's original planting was 30 feet between the rows and 20 feet between the trees. And you had to keep them pruned or they would actually grow all together,
Wow.
together, because the trees were just huge. So he was planting 72 trees to the acre. When I took over, my first planting was 450 trees to the acre.
Whoa.
Well, I was using smaller rootstock trees to make a smaller tree. Well, I guess Dad had gone to 180 at one point, but I went to 450, and then I went to 700, and my last plantings now are anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 trees to the acre.
Wow.
And with newer varieties, we can get in production faster on the dwarf trees. Where my dad was growing maybe 7 varieties, we're growing 28 different varieties right now with 3 more varieties in testing.
And it's very much so a family operation.
It is. My wife retired from teaching, and she does the field trips and works on the retail side. My son after he got out of high school, he came back. He helps me out in the orchard mowing and weed spraying and stuff like that, running the grading room, helping me make cider. My daughter majored in retail in college, and after a few years out in working for other folks, she's come back to the orchard, and she's actually runs the retail side of the operation.
Very good. So kind of going back to your wife's story a little bit, but did your wife grow up on a farm?
No, she did not.
And how was that?
Her family lived with their grandparents for a while, and they had a few cattle and all, but they weren't farming full time. It was an adjustment for her, you know. Of course, you know, when we first got married, she was going to teaching school every day, and she would come occasionally on a weekend. She would help some on the retail side, but you know, usually she was working on her school stuff every weekend, you know, being ready for the kids for Monday.
Right.
So gradually, though, she just started spending more and more time, you know, weekends here, and then gradually, when she retired, let me rephrase that. She did not retire. She just changed jobs.
Right. Once a teacher, always a teacher,
Yeah.
I think.
And so, you know, doing the field trips, she loves it because, you know, she gets the kids for her part of the field trip for like 15, 18 minutes, and then she gets a new bunch.
Yeah, that's great. Talk about just raising kids on the farm, though. This is a unique farm, and, you know, you got the retail side of it too, but I would say that was pretty cool getting to raise 2 kids on the farm.
It is. I mean, my son, he started working in the retail side, stocking shelves, carrying out apples and all, probably by middle school. My daughter was a different story. By the time she got to high school, she got in the band, and she found something going on every weekend where she didn't have to work. I guess different stroke, but you know, she still wanted to come back to the farm at some point, which is why she majored in retail. And so I didn't push my kids to come back. They had to be their choice.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents did everything in the world for me, trying to convince me not to come back. They wanted to make sure this is what I wanted to do.
I feel like that is a common theme throughout farmers across the state. We don't force it upon, but it is something about it being in your blood. Once you're here,
well, I mean, you've got to love it.
Yep.
You know, there are easier ways to make a living. There are jobs where you don't put as many hours in. You know, for us right now, it is, once we hit the 1st of August, it's 7 days a week, or 6.5 if you count, we're just open half a day on Sunday.
Yeah.
But I'm usually here earlier than that. So, but you know, you really gotta enjoy it, or you'll be miserable.
For sure. So it's you and your wife, and then your 2 kids are now all back on the farm.
Yes.
You've got a retail location here. Talk a little bit about when that was, when y'all built this here, and then also mention a little bit, you know, we talked earlier, but about your new place and the future of that.
When my dad first started selling apples in '72, my grandfather had a commercial chicken house, had been out of it for about a year. So we actually cleaned up one end of the chicken house. We actually sold apples. We had shavings on the floor the first year. It was very rustic, And the first few years we stayed in that building, of course, we concreted the floors and all and built a cider room to make cider with. And got to a certain point where we needed a better building to sell out of. And so we built our first part of this operation in '87. Built retail store, a small bakery, grading room, cider room, and cold storage. It worked well for the first several years. We added on to the bakery because what we found out is we sell a lot of fried pies and apple fritters and turnovers and dumplings. So we enlarged the bakery first. 2001, we added another 1,800 square foot of retail space just because the store is getting too crowded. People couldn't move around enough in what we had. So we added that, and now we are way out in the country, as you found out driving here. We are not on the back road. We are the road past the back road. And so it's sometimes challenging to get folks come out. We are a destination for 3 months. We are thought about for about another 2 months. And the rest of the year, we're not thought of at all. Even though we're open all the year. So I started several years ago. I decided we had to build another retail operation to sell more fruit as we're planting more trees. And a few years ago, I bought some land on US 64, just about 6.5 miles from here, where the traffic count over there is 21,000 cars a day, where the traffic count on here, if we're not open, might be 30 cars a day. And half of them might be going to work and coming home in the evening. So we hope to have that open sometime in early to mid-December this year. My daughter's going to go manage that operation. So, to be honest, we need more cash flow for them to come back and flourish.
That makes total sense. Talk about some of the things that y'all offer in the store. You mentioned it a little bit, but I hear y'all have some famous apple cider.
We're well known for our apple cider. When we make apple cider, we usually use at least, most of the season, at least 5 varieties as a blend.
Okay.
Because if you use one variety, it'll either be too sweet, too tart, too something, but by mixing the varieties, it gives a great blend. What a lot of our folks come for are apple cider slushies.
Oh.
Frozen apple cider, and it will chill you to the bone if you drink it too fast. And then, besides our apples, and we have a bakery with fried pies and apple fritters and dumplings and turnovers. We sell a lot of jams and jellies, and we sell a ton of apple butter. And just some like apple peelers and stuff like that. And then we use some local folks. We have goat cheese from a local goat dairy. We have granola from folks in the next county that makes granola. We have a local beekeeper. We sell their honey. We're always trying to find local folks, vendors that we can sell their products.
Farmers helping farmers.
That's it.
That's what we do for sure. Talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier, I think that might have not been during this, but when we were chatting earlier, that your son came back and he kind of took over the U-Pick operation.
He did. He's actually, what he's really wanting to get into more is pick your own flowers.
Okay.
He has started, we did a little bit of pick your own flowers this year. We've known other people have done it, and we're starting to get into that, but he really likes doing the U-Pick apples, and so does my daughter. Their day is out in the orchard during U-Pick, and my job is park cars. They gave me parking duty, so I've got a couple of different parking lots where I can just direct people to park.
But between your wife being a teacher and then having those U-Pick U-Pick days, it's a great chance to be able to tell folks about agriculture and where their food comes from.
It is. We, when my wife has the kids, she talks about, how we grow the apples and nourish, take care of the trees all summer so we can have apples to sell, and talks about, that's what farming is providing food for folks.
And I do think you pick experience coming to a farm and getting to pick an apple off of the tree, especially for folks that probably come from Chattanooga, maybe some even come from Knoxville that
We get them
just
from,
don't
yeah,
have any idea.
we get them from North Georgia, a lot from Maryville, Knoxville, Lenore City area, Chattanooga. We had a family the other day from Manchester for their pick your own.
Wow.
You know, they said they were looking for somewhere to go and it popped up. And so they drove that hour and a half, just to come pick apples.
That's awesome. You've got to be proud that you have helped and your family has helped turn essentially a 2-apple, right? You said two apple tree orchard into this.
It amazes me every time I look at the parking lot and it's just full of cars and people are in there. And I hear folks says, this is my orchard. They take ownership of it and it just blows my mind.
Do you love it?
Oh, I do. This is all I've ever wanted to do was stay on the farm. And I'm just very fortunate that, Dad started the orchard.
And you get to be a part of it and your kids get to be a part of it and hopefully continue on to the next generation. Talk a little bit about, and we'll kind of wrap up in a little bit, but the future. You mentioned you got a new retail location, but
we've got a new retail location. We've bought some more land. We're fixing to set a lot more trees over the next 4 or 5 years. I know we've got 5,000 trees coming.
Wow.
The spring of 27, and we've got room probably for about another 25,000 trees that we're going to set over the next few years.
So how many would that bring your total to?
Well, of what we're probably going to push out quite a bit of that and reset too, because you look at these trees right back here. I mean, these were planted in 1993.
Wow.
So they're actually, for the most part, you'd normally be a little past their prime, but they're still very productive.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've left them a little longer. Ideally, about every 20 years, you should be replacing your trees. But these have just been so productive, we just haven't. And I think eventually we might end up with somewhere in the neighborhood of 40,000 trees.
Wow.
That's a few years in the future before we could get there.
Do you have a lot of help? I mean, that's a lot of trees.
It is. That is the one thing that we are concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my picking crew has been with me since they started 1996, and they've still been, some of them have been coming that long every year to harvest, migrant workers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they're getting older. I'm losing some of them. I guess that is the challenge. I guess at some point we'll have to go to H2A workers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see any way around it.
Yeah.
Back 15 years ago, it was normal that a carload of Hispanics would pull up every week, 1 or 2 carloads, want a job.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see that anymore.
So
because a lot of them, around here, a lot of them have gone to the carpet mills down in the edge of Georgia. That's where a lot of them work, or they're putting in insulation or drywall or something.
I would say this is hard work too.
It is hard work. I usually get to go out and pick just to get away from the normal everyday. I'll go out and pick a couple of days during the season just for a few hours just to relax. But it is a physical job.
So if we have a listener that wants to come visit or wants to learn a little bit more, I know you'll have a website, but tell us a little bit about where we can find some information.
Yeah, you can
about the orchard.
Yeah, our Facebook page gets updated a lot, fairly often. My daughter does that, and that'll give that, or the website, either one will give you information on what's going on at the orchard, what varieties we have for sale, or what varieties are fixing to be harvested, because we've still got several varieties still to be harvested this year.
Very good. And I meant to ask you, you mentioned that, but any specific, when did the name come about, Apple Valley? Did your parents come up with that name?
No, actually, where we were going to church, our pastor at that time said, y'all just going to have an Apple Valley out there.
Oh, wow.
So that, and it just sort of stuck. Yeah, it was talking about the different apple varieties. We actually patented a variety out of this
Really?
farm. Back early 90s, I noticed a gala tree where the lower limbs were just normal galas, but about 4 feet up, the limbs going up above that were much bigger gala apples and a little bit different shaped. And I got my dad and we looked at it, and we had noticed that we had taken a chainsaw and cut a big limb out there. And somehow we had a couple of professors from UT and some folks from a nursery. The only thing we decided was somehow it messed up the genetics in the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And so below that cut was just normal average size galas. Above that cut, they're much larger. In fact, the cell structure is different in those galas above. We had a professor from Ohio State that, after we patented, took some trees and studied, and that the cells in a normal apple keep multiplying. In what we call a Caitlin gala, we named it, for some reason my dad named it after his granddaughter. I don't know why. But the cells at a certain size do not keep multiplying. They just keep enlarging, making it a much juicier apple.
Okay.
And so we sold it to licensed Stark Brothers Nursery out in Missouri to sell it. They were at the time, the most well-known apple tree nursery in the world. They sold the first Red Delicious tree and the first Golden Delicious tree.
Oh, wow.
And they sell it as Stark Grand Gala.
Okay.
And it's a much larger size gala than the normal galas.
Do y'all have them here now?
They're gone for the season.
Okay. But
It's an August apple.
Gotcha. Very cool. Just kind of to wrap us up, to close us out on this episode, again, just talk a little bit about what's it mean to you to be able to have this really impressive orchard that we have back here, and get to also feed your community and give really great fresh product to the folks that live around here.
It's a sense of pride, and yet I'm humbled that I've gotten this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, what's better than being able to help feed the world?
Mm-hmm. And I
mean, I'm not growing corn or soybeans or something, but I'm still helping to feed the world.
For sure. And I would say, what do you think your parents would think of what y'all got going on now?
My dad would probably be really surprised at the growth, especially, building another retail operation. My mom would just be flabbergasted.
Yeah.
She would never imagined it would have gotten this large.
From a little hobby to a full family operation. Pretty incredible. Well, thank you for your time. And if any of us listening are in the Cleveland area, please stop by. When will y'all probably wrap up for the season?
We will probably close this store. Well, we'll finish harvesting sometime early to mid-November.
Okay.
We will close at this operation sometime early December and open up at the new location immediately after that. As soon as our new location is ready to open.
Gotcha. Well, so you've got until the end of the year to stop by this location.
Yes.
And if not, check out one a little closer to town. So appreciate you joining us and hearing a little bit about your story.
Thank you.